If you're a parent and you suspect your child is suffering or has suffered from narcissistic abuse, this video is for you. Whether you've escaped the toxic environment or you are still navigating it, the way you respond can either help your child to heal or deepen the wound. And today we are exploring how to support your child spiritually and psychologically so they can reclaim their identity, their peace, as well as their future. Now, this topic is very close to my heart, and interestingly, two members of this community have asked for this kind of video, and I decided to make it. By the way, my name is Iyabo Yawale, and I'm a narcissistic abuse survivor, and on this channel I share biblical wisdom for dealing with the scourge, the pain, and the mess of narcissistic abuse. And if you're serious about healing from narcissistic abuse, you're gonna hit the subscribe button right away in order for you to become a member of this strong and supportive community where we hold hands virtually in our fight against narcissistic abuse. And now let's delve into the video proper. Narcissistic abuse isn't always loud. It can look like manipulation. It can look like gaslighting. It can also look like neglect or conditional love. And children often show signs like anxiety or depression, people-pleasing tendencies, chronic self-doubt, fear of failure or punishment, and suppressed emotions or identity. These are all symptoms that children express as a result of suffering from narcissistic abuse, and I watched my kids suffer it. Yeah. And it's one of the reasons why I decided to fight tooth and nail to get free, to break free. And recognizing these signs is the first step. You can't heal what you won't acknowledge. And awareness is the beginning of healing. And so you first must be able to name what exactly your children are suffering from, what exactly they are manifesting as a result of suffering from narcissistic abuse. And so the first step is acknowledging what exactly your kids are suffering from, what exactly they are facing. And so what will be your psychological response? What should be your psychological response if you realize that your children need help with whatever it is they have seen you suffer, or which they which they also suffered from? Because usually when the mother or father is suffering, the child also suffers. It's like going from mother to the child, father to the child. And psychologically, children affected by narcissistic abuse, often struggle with identity, they struggle with boundaries, they also struggle with emotional regulation. And what they need most is safety. What they need most is consistency, because the narcissist is never ever consistent. It's blowing hot and cold. She's blowing hot and cold, and they need safety because the narcissist is never safe for them emotionally, physically, in every aspect. They also need validation. And so the first thing you can do is create a safe emotional space. Yes, create a safe emotional space. Let your child know it's safe to feel, it's safe to speak, it's safe to cry, and it's safe to express confusion. Just let them know that you are a safe haven for them in spite of what the narcissist is doing. Even if you're still in a narcissistic situation, offer safety, offer them consistency, and also offer them validation. The second thing you can do is to name the abuse if age appropriate. It depends on the age of the child. So use clear, age-sensitive language. For example, when someone loves us only when we act a certain way, that's not real love. And so you can say something like that. Depending on the age of the child, you just have to consider the age of the child in making this sort of communication. And the third thing you can do is to model healthy boundaries. Show what it looks like to say no with love, to take breaks, and also to communicate respectfully. And so communicate to them via your own example. I always tell parents that in parenting, most of the things are not taught, because I look at my children and most of the things they caught based on what I was doing. And so model healthy boundaries, model everything you want them to learn. Also therapy and support, offer them therapy and support. If possible, engage a trauma-informed therapist, because healing is layered and professional help accelerates the process. And so get them help professionally if that is possible, because it enables them to sort out their emotions. It enables them to process their thoughts. It enables them to process whatever it is they have experienced. That is, if you have left the abusive situation, or even if you're still there, professional help helps a lot. I did that for my kids. I allow them to speak to professionals, and that has been very helpful. Also, offer them spiritual support. And what does this involve? Basically, this involves praying over your children. Yes, pray over them. Now, psychological healing is vital. And so, like I was saying, psychological healing is vital, but spiritual healing restores the soul. Don't forget Psalm 23, he restoreth my soul. Now, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That is John 10:10, especially through toxic relationships. The devil is always doing destructive things through toxic relationships, but God restores what was stolen. And so here's how to spiritually support your child through this very destructive situation of life. Pray over them daily. I said that earlier, but I want to explain better. Speak life over them. Speak life over their identity. Speak healing into their spirit. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. That is Psalm 139 verse 14. Constantly confess positive things. And if you check our community page, I'm constantly posting there, and I once posted that our mouths are possible, our tongues are powerful, and so we can use that to speak life into our lives and that of our children. Also teach them truth. That is the second thing. Teach them truth. Share scriptures about God's love. Share scriptures about God's value. Share scriptures about God's protection. Help them understand that they are not what the abuser said, because some of them would have been criticized heavily. They would have been called all sorts of names. Tell them they are who God says they are. Tell them their value is not dependent on whatever the abuser has said, but dependent on what the word of God says. I constantly tell my kids, even the elderly ones, even the ones who are grown in uni, you are enough. I constantly tell them. The third thing to do is break generational curses. Declare aloud that the cycle of abuse ends with you. Use your authority as a parent to renounce any spiritual foothold of trauma, any spiritual foothold of manipulation, any spiritual foothold of control. Break it over your children, because that is your responsibility. Beyond giving them food, you have to spiritually secure them, spiritually secure their future, spiritually secure their lives, their souls. It is your duty. Fourth thing to do is teach forgiveness without forcing reconnection. Teach forgiveness without forcing reconnection. Let them know forgiveness is a tool for their healing, not a ticket back into unsafe environments. Assure them that you're no longer going into an unsafe environment, but it's their duty for their own healing to forgive, to try and release the hurt, the bitterness, the anger from their mind. Just assure them that you are not going back there, but forgiveness is a must for their own healing. Now, before you escape, when you are still in the environment, how can you help your children? That is what I want to discuss next. And so if you are still living with a narcissist, your role becomes even more delicate, very, very delicate and powerful too. Your role becomes very powerful because you need to shield your child most often. And it also depends on the age, because when they are grown, you can't even shield them that much. They see everything. Like my kids saw every blessed thing, and they knew what I was facing. And so the first thing you can do is to be a safe haven. Your calm presence can regulate their nervous system even when chaos is all around. And so sit with them, validate them, and whisper truth to them. Very, very important. Validate them often. You're enough. Because I never had a parent tell me I was enough. And so I do that for my kids a lot. And secondly, model what healthy looks like. Because you're talking about the fact that this is unsafe, but you also show what healthy looks like. And in parenting, like I said earlier, many things are caught, not taught. Show kindness, show respect, and show accountability, even when the narcissist does not. Your child is watching. You think they are not seeing. They see every blessed thing. And I can say this from experience. Also, document everything. If you plan to escape, keep records safely. Very, very important. This can protect both of you legally and psychologically when the time comes. And so keep records, save every voice note, save emails, save your certificates, your bank account documents, save every blessed thing in case you need them to fight in court, in case you need them to get your escape. The fourth thing to do is don't demonize. Teach discernment. Don't demonize. Teach discernment. Instead of labeling the abuser constantly, teach your child to identify toxic behavior patterns. This builds resilience and wisdom, not fear, because you don't want your child to be filled with fear, but rather you want them to be resilient. You also want them to be wise. And one thing I do for even my elderly children, when they come and they are dealing with toxicity, I stand by their decisions, because all these Gen Zs, they don't have time for the kind of things we did, that we managed situations for over 20 years. Immediately they are leaving their marriage. Immediately they are quitting the relationship. They don't have time. And when they do that, because I know what toxicity can cause, I stand by their decisions. And so as a parent who knows the danger of toxicity, stand by your children. Very, very important. Now, after escape, the healing journey, what does it entail? Now, probably you are in a new home, probably you are going through therapy, probably you're going to worship together, or you are even laughing together. These are the things you can do to help your children after you have escaped. Now, once you are out of the abusive environment, the real work begins. I tell you, healing isn't just about escape. It's about rebuilding identity. It's about restoring everything you have lost. And there's a video I did on the fact that healing isn't linear. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of intentionality. It also takes a lot of courage. I'll put a link in the description so you can watch it. And so the first thing you can do for them after you have escaped is let them grieve. There's going to be a lot of grief. There's going to be a lot of confusion. Even if the narcissist was toxic, your child may still feel sadness, confusion, or even guilt. And so honor those feelings, validate those feelings, validate their pain, validate them. I tell you, stand by them. Very, very important. They need that. Secondly, empower their choices. Let them make small decisions daily. This rebuilds their confidence and sense of control. For instance, when my elderly kids come to me and they are like, Mom, I'm trying to do this, do that, and I tell them, sort it out. I tell them sort it out, because I'm trying to teach them to make decisions for themselves. I'm trying to teach them to stand for themselves. I'm trying to teach them to think for themselves. And when they come to me with their decision, I encourage them. Also encourage expression, encourage art, encourage journaling, encourage dance, encourage music. These are outlets for which words can't always say. They are outlets that are therapeutic for their pain. And so encourage that kind of expression. Encourage them when they come to you with their decisions. I do that a lot. Also involve them spiritually. Let them ask spiritual questions. Lead them back to God, not through fear, but through grace, through love, and through truth, the truth of God's word. And so lead them back to God. Teach them spirituality. Let them embrace God the way that you have embraced God and found help in Him. And that's very important. And in conclusion, and in my final thoughts, I'll say that overall, I have found help from God in raising my kids, even after narcissistic abuse. And while I was still there, I found help, because in spite of the chaos, in spite of the drama, God just shielded my kids, and I'm super grateful to Him. And I know that is also going to be your story. Just follow God's guidance, lead them to the Word, and validate them often. And so let me say, dear parents, you are doing holy work. Holy as in Holy work. Your child doesn't need perfection. Yes, that's one thing I've realized with raising kids. They don't need perfection. They need you to own up when you fall short. They need your presence most of the time. Your presence matters. They need your prayers. They need your protection and your patience, because they're going to falter severally. They're going to make mistakes severally, because we are human beings and we are prone to error. And so you are not just parenting, you are re-parenting a wounded soul while healing yourself. That takes a lot of courage, and I salute you. Yes, I salute your courage. I salute your intentionality. I salute the work you're putting in to build the next generation. And I tell you, your work is not going unnoticed, because God cares about the next generation. Very, very important. He cares about the next generation. And so stay faithful, stay grounded. God is with you and He's with your child or children. Thank you so much for watching this video. I've got a free ebook that I'm giving out, and if you've not gotten a copy, you can send the word HACS in the comments to get a copy. HACKS. The book is titled Reclaiming You, 11 Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Hacks to Reclaim Your Life and Your Power. It contains the exact things I did to quit narcissistic abuse, and I believe you'll find a lot of help by getting a copy. Just send hacks in the comments. Also, don't forget that I've got a birthday masterclass. My birthday is in June. Yay! My birthday is in June 19th, 2025, and I'm gonna have a birthday masterclass on June 21st, 2025. That's on a Saturday, and I'm gonna talk about 5 common mistakes survivors make when setting boundaries with narcissists. And so come and listen, come and learn. Bring a friend, don't come alone. Also subscribe to this channel if you are not yet subscribed. This is a powerful and strong supportive community where we hold hands virtually in our fight against narcissistic abuse. And so if you want a community that cares, if you want a community where you're seen, heard, and understood, this is it. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to be notified when we go live. And also leave a comment. What struck you the most in this video, and what other video do you want me to make? Just leave a comment in the leave a comment, and also like this video, because when you do, you are helping YouTube to recommend more of such videos. And also share this video. I know you've been sharing. I can tell from the number of shares that we get on this channel, and that is what makes us a community. You help me, I help you. Yes, that is, we are not takers here, we also give. And that is why under 3 months we have 152 videos already. And today I've had a live session, very impactful live session, very touching and emotional live session. I tell you, we didn't even want to leave, but we just had to after an hour and some minutes. And so I want you to subscribe to be a member of this community and join the masterclass. By the way, you can join the masterclass by registering at www.iyaboyale.com/masterclass. Thank you so much for doing that. I'll see you in the comments.